You've probably seen Shakespeare remakes like 10 Things I Hate About You, Romeo and Juliet, or She's the Man. But there's one Shakespeare teen movie that no one ever really talks about. Maybe because it's not cute, but it's actually really haunting and brutal. It might be one of the darkest teen adaptations ever made. This is O, a film from 2001, which is a tragedy wrapped in varsity jackets, weaponized lies, and fragile masculinity. Hello, world, and welcome to Cinema Nostalgica, where we break down nostalgic hidden gems. The movie O is based on Shakespeare's Othello, a story about a respected North African general who marries a Venetian woman in secret. His helper, Iago, is driven by jealousy and racism and manipulates Othello into thinking his wife is unfaithful, leading to murder, heartbreak, and ruin. It's a story about trust, power, race, and how fragile a man's ego can be. The 2001 adaptation stars Mekhi Phifer, Julia Stiles, Josh Hartnett, Martin Sheen, Andrew Keegan, and even Rain Phoenix. Given it was filmed in the early 2000s, this is an all-star cast, composed of all the heavy hitters of the time. But despite the talent, it never really broke through. Why didn't it do better? Why was it erased from the canon of iconic 2000s films? The truth is, O was marketed as a teen drama, but what it gave us was a full-blown Shakespearean tragedy with no jokes, no soft landings, no comic relief, just manipulation, violence, lies, and the slow, surgical destruction of a young man's life. In the realm of teen thrillers, O has been tragically and largely forgotten. The film's release was delayed in response to the tragic Columbine school shooting due to its violent themes and high school setting. This hesitation reveals how eerily O mirrored real-life anxieties about youth violence and the fragile state of the American high school. And just as it finally neared its release, O was again overshadowed, this time by 9/11. The national trauma pushed media and audiences away from dark, psychologically intense stories. The film seemed destined to be buried beneath real-life tragedies. And it begs the question, is O a cursed film? With the themes of violence, manipulation, and isolation and its unlucky timing, the movie carries a heavy, almost prophetic weight. It's not just about popularity or obsession, it's about how insecurity, power, and exclusion operates all beneath the surface while it quietly destroys lives of everyone involved. Throughout the film, doves appear like silent spectators, ever present and circling as if watching the tragic play unfold. They surround the characters like an audience encircling a stage, observing each act of betrayal, passion, and violence without interference. Much like a chorus in a Greek or Shakespearean tragedy, they seem to bear witness to a story that feels inevitable, one that was always headed for disaster. Their quiet presence adds an eerie sense of fate, as if the entire film is being performed before them and us, and we are powerless to stop the events that unfold. Josh Hartnett's character, which is Hugo, is jealous and entitled, and also a complete psychopath. He sees Odin, a black basketball star, as someone who took something that should have been his, and eventually, Hugo hunts him down like prey, planting lies about how his girlfriend Desi is cheating on him with his best friend. And because of this lie, Odin spirals under the manipulation and insecurity he deeply internalizes and turns to violence, drug use, that Hugo supplies to him by the way, and rage, until Odin's life completely falls apart. There is a scene early in the film when Hugo orchestrates a call to Desi's dad about how Odin was seen forcing himself on her. That was a lie, but what I find interesting is that when Desi is confronted by this, she doesn't outright say no, but only tells her dad it's none of his business. Based on her behavior in the scene, her father actually plants the first seed of doubt in Odin's mind that Desi will eventually forsake him. But overall, this conversation between Desi, O, and her father quietly foreshadows the violence she would later endure, both the essay and her eventual murder, casting a shadow setting up the tragic trajectory of her fate. We see Odin's ego cripple as he physically and emotionally abuses his girlfriend Desi, turning on his best friend and relying solely on Hugo, the puppet master behind it all. And the catalyst of this can be largely due to the behaviors of Hugo's dad. Hugo's dad is the school's basketball coach and from the surface just fawns over Odin. Odin is his favorite, and it's made very clear in the film. That while he is putting Odin on a pedestal, he is actively dismissing and ignoring his son, Hugo. The jealousy that Hugo feels isn't just spawned from racial or school politics, but it's familial, tapping into Hugo's deepest insecurity of male acceptance and triggers his daddy issues, which is drips into every scene of this film. Hugo becomes a cold, modern Iago, resenting and calculating every move with precision. Hugo uses Emily, Desi's roommate, and Roger, one of his minions, to participate in this dirty work, setting up the lie that Desi is cheating on Odin. They are both little pawns in Hugo's master plan. He plays with the optics and watches it all unfold from the background. Some examples of this is he encourages Michael, Odin's best friend, to hang out with Desi, and even plants a meaningful scarf on Michael to make it seem like Desi gave it to him, the scarf being a sentimental gift from Odin to Desi. Hugo encourages Odin to do drugs to ease the pain as he whispers doubts and tells blatant lies that Michael and Desi are in fact together and have been for months. And what's most terrifying about this is how easily it works. Because Odin's trust in his friends, his coach, his girl, it's not really there. It's not really tangible as we see, as none of it is rooted in safety. It's fragile and even performative. And once doubt enters, the foundation absolutely crumbles. And Odin doesn't believe in himself or the people he loves. He doesn't even confront them with the drama he's heard from Hugo. He just believes that the world is against him, suggesting deep-rooted insecurities regarding his self-worth. Odin then acts like a complete maniac because he's unraveling, talking down to Desi, fighting with his best friend Michael, destroying himself and the reputation that he worked so hard to build. And in the process, everything just slips completely through his fingers. There are no good moments in this film, no laughs, no breath of fresh air, only pressure. Even the doves that are often shown in this film, symbols of peace and purity, feel like a setup, like something sacred waiting to be ruined. Hugo weaponizes Odin's fears, his love, his reputation, as he whispers so much doubt into his ear that Odin can't even tell the difference between truth, false, and his own insecurities. Hugo violates trust and then lets ego finish the job. Because ego is loud, it doesn't ask for clarity, it just demands control. And when control slips, it destroys. So much so that Odin and Hugo hatch a plan to kill Desi and Michael. As the plot unfolds, Hugo's murder scheme doesn't go as planned, and mistakes are made, resulting in the deaths of Michael and Roger. While this is going on, Odin strangles Desi, leaving her breathless by the hands of her own lover. And when Emily, Desi's roommate, shares and exposes the truth of Hugo's lies to Odin, Odin is just left with no escape, no redemption, just a broken boy standing in the ashes of everything that he loved. Because he is exposed, Hugo shoots Emily, and then Odin turns the gun on himself. But it's not a catharsis moment, it's a moment of devastation. In the final moments, Hugo's father runs out of the gym, obviously upset about hearing the tragic news. But who is he running towards, his son Hugo or Odin? The ambiguity reflects the emotional chaos of the moment, but it does make you question, is he more upset that Odin is gone, or is he more upset about the fate and the actions of his son? Everything that Hugo planned for, getting rid of Odin so he could be the golden child in his father's eyes, did not come into fruition. He destroyed everyone's lives, including his own, and still did not reap the benefits of achieving his father's love. So who is the ultimate victim or villain here? Is Hugo the victim since he never received the love that he was so after from his father? Or is Odin the villain who was completely manipulated yet acted like a total maniac at the thought of losing his girl and his fractured ego? I mean, he did strangle Desi. Are the real victims the innocent bystanders, Emily, Roger, and Michael, even though they all had a part to play in this madness? Or Desi, confused by her lover's actions, being labeled as someone who she isn't, and dying not for her own story, but for someone else's rage and jealousy? The ending of this film is methodical, sad, and unforgiving. O is not an easy watch. O isn't about romance either. It's about what happens when hate is louder than love, when ego goes unchecked, and when insecurity turns deadly. Next to Romeo and Juliet, this is my favorite Shakespeare adaptation because it just doesn't flinch. It forces you to sit there with discomfort. And it might just be the honest Shakespeare adaptation ever made. Not because it's faithful to the text, but because it understands something darker, that sometimes love doesn't stand a chance against hate and one's ego. So thank you all so much for watching this video, especially if you made it to the end. Please let me know in the comments what you think and have you seen the movie O, and I will see you in the next one.